It's Fanmail Friday, and you wondered what the Halos should do if they re-sign Ohtani and what the Halos should do if they don't re-sign Ohtani. Let's talk about it. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And those watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click that bell to be notified every time a new episode drops.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
It's our second season here at Locked On Angels, and we're doing Fan Mail Friday today, which we do pretty much every Friday, unless there's like an emergency. But otherwise, it's usually a Fan Mail Friday. So thank you to everybody who sent in their questions. Got some really great ones here. Got some good voicemails. So I'm excited to get in to these questions, Mike. Don't forget, Locked On Everydayers, that on Monday, we're going to be recapping this very crucial series against the Astros that's taking place starting tonight, and it takes place over the weekend, and we'll be here to recap the entire series on Monday. But Mike, since it is Fan Mail Friday, why don't you start us out with the first question today?
Johnny, before we do that, I do want to let you know that Locked On Everydayer Zaylee, who is a personal friend of mine, we were texting back and forth yesterday, and she said, "Hey, go Halos, and tell John to start whispering our hopes on the pod more often." It seems like it's working.
It's working. Mike, I really hope that on Monday when we recap the Houston Astros series, that the Angels will find some success down in Houston, Texas.
That was a good combination of whisper and breathy. I really appreciate that. Hey, Johnny, let's start with the first question. At Ian Burns74 on Twitter, who are the top free agents in the upcoming offseason, and do the Angels sign a big name or a couple of big names off the market? And does Artie stay as well? And then the emoji eyes.
Ian Burns.
I know. That's what it felt like, huh?
So listen, here's the top unrestricted free agents for this offseason. That means there's no player options, there's no club options, there's no mutual options. These are just the guys who are headed to free agency. And it's not great, Mike, right, especially in the case of bats for next year. Yeah. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani is going to be the headliner there. Matt Chapman is probably the next best bat after Shohei Ohtani, which is ironic because Ohtani is also probably the best pitcher available.
Right.
And then Aaron Nola, who's coming off the Phillies, and Blake Snell from the Padres. That'll be Blake's first time hitting free agency. Remember, he was traded from the Rays to the Padres. Those are probably the highlights of the class. Now, here are some more names that are unrestricted free agents. Clayton Kershaw, obviously, he's been doing that, year by year, deal by deal thing with the Dodgers, which I think he's going to do for the rest of his career. I think that he'll just keep on coming back to the Dodgers. Hyun-Jin Ryu is also available. Jock Peterson is up for grabs. Julio Urias, who might be one of the better pitchers available next season.
An intriguing name, right? A really intriguing name.
Josh Hader, of course, the current closer for the Padres. Kenta Maeda, who we had a Locked On Everydayer suggest him, and he's had a great season since returning, actually, and so he'll be a free agent. He's a little older, but he's getting by. Harrison Bader's another bat who's currently with the Yankees. Remember, he came from the Cardinals. Jeimer Candelario, who was traded from the Nationals to the Cubs. Gio Urshela, of course. Hunter Renfroe, Mike Moustakas, and Matt Moore, Mike. He's on a one-year deal with the Angels, and so I think that's important to consider. So again, not very many great bats, lots of arms, definitely some starting pitching, and definitely a lot of relievers out there. Mike, in my opinion, if Artie is going to stay, I think he will stay if they sign Ohtani.
Yeah.
And if they don't sign Ohtani, he probably stays, but I imagine he's going to try to sell the team again. And the funny part is that if they don't get Ohtani back, am I dreaming, or are they going to lose like $1 billion off the price tag for the Halos? What do you think?
Yeah, it would make sense that the price would drop because Ohtani is a big reason why this is a coveted franchise, right?
Yeah.
And so I actually don't think that Artie tries to sell in the next couple of years. I think that he actually stays with this team. I also wouldn't be surprised if his kids, who did indicate that they're not really interested, if his kids and family end up just kind of inheriting this thing and then give all of the power to like Perry Manassian or a John Carpino, something like that, where the owners, I know that was terrible to say. I got to wash my mouth out with soap, but I could see something like that happening, similar to, I know that with the Green Bay Packers, like the fans own Green Bay and then they have somebody who is kind of the CEO that kind of runs things, or the general manager. I could see that happening with the Angels, where the family runs the Angels, or at least owns the Angels, but then they actually empower 1 or 2 or 3 different people to help lead the organization forward.
It's a Steinbrenner situation.
Yes.
Yeah, they own it. They got Brian Cashman, and they've got, president of baseball and a GM and all that stuff. So yeah. I think
which doesn't mean that it's going to be awesome, but it also doesn't mean it'll be a train wreck, especially if Perry Manassian is involved in that, because I think Perry, as you mentioned on yesterday's show, he's a baseball dude and he loves baseball. And so I think that if they give him a bit more power, it'd be awesome to be able to see what he can do with this team without any like limitations or restraints.
This name, Buttercupped AF on Twitter, said, what would be your offseason strategy if we re-signed Ohtani? What would be your strategy if we didn't re-sign Ohtani? Mike, for me, if they re-sign Ohtani, I think you're still going to need pitching. There's not a lot of great bats out there, as we just discussed. So for me, it's starters and relievers. Even if they don't get Ohtani back, there's not a free agent bat that's going to replace him. So to me, I think you may just let some of these guys swing it. You let Joe Adell and Mickey Moniak play every day. Maybe Nolan Shanuel does the Zach Neto thing and he's ready to play. Maybe you consider bringing back some of the guys you have, but otherwise you can let Trout and Rendon DH, and probably Rendon DHs the most. I mean, again, that's not a replacement for Ohtani, but he can still produce at the plate.
Yeah.
And I think putting him in the DH role kind of keeps him healthy. But again, I think just let the kids play. And of course, you got to have a frontline starter. I'd love to see them go after like an Aaron Nola. I know that, again, if you don't get Shohei, you're missing an arm and you're missing a bat, but there's no bat out there that's going to replace Shohei Ohtani and what he does,
right?
At least in free agency. Now, they surprised us in the offseason with some of the trades they made and some of the guys they brought in, like Urshela and Renfroe, and even signing Drury. So, who knows what Perry Manassian can do over the offseason. What do you think if they sign Ohtani, and if they don't sign Ohtani, what are you doing?
If they sign Ohtani, I'm going to get another starting pitcher. I know that Giolito's on our team right now, and he is a free agent. Does he have an option, John? You didn't have him in the list above.
But you know what? I think he's an unrestricted free agent. I forgot to add him to that.
I think that he would be somebody that I would consider. I would also consider like a Blake Snell. I think that in a Julio Urias, although those guys are lefties, and so we have a lot of lefties in our starting rotation. So if Ohtani re-signs, I'm getting at least one more starting pitcher, and I'm probably trying to get like a Reynaldo Lopez or somebody like that back, plus a Matt Moore. I want to really solidify my bullpen. If Ohtani doesn't sign, then I'm taking the $50 million that he probably would take to sign him, and I'm getting probably 3 starters, John. I would go after 3 starters. I would, and maybe not top of the line starters, but I would at least maybe try to get 2 top of the line starters. Somebody like, you get Giolito, and then you get Nola, and then you get Snell, right? Like, I mean, that's really what I think this team has lacked this year. And no disrespect to Sandy and Detmers and even Griffin Canning. Griffin Canning's probably been the best out of all of those, although Sandy's improving. But quite honestly, John, I think that we've seen that they aren't reliable over a long period of time and maybe need a bit more work. And so why not just have a bit more coverage in your starting rotation? Not that you have to have these guys in the minor leagues, but maybe have a bit more coverage. I think you could still go with a 6-man rotation with Tyler Anderson being 4th. And then you have maybe Sandy and Detmers in there, and then figure out who's going to be your guy like Griffin Canning if he's going to replace somebody. But that's what I would do. I would just go pitching, because I think that we have the hitters, and I would also be a Perry Manassian type of general manager. I would go to make some trades. I would try to get some bats via trade rather than via free agency, because I think like Matt Chapman, it'd be awesome to have him on our team. It'd be another third baseman with a big contract that we just don't need.
who's currently 30 as well.
Right.
And just to remind everybody, we signed Rendon at age 29, turning 30. So that's the risk you run there, especially with a third baseman at the hot corner. Hey, the Angels are back at it tonight at 5:10 Pacific time against the Astros. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, how do the Super Halo brothers stay loyal to this Halo team? We had a great question, and we're going to answer that for you coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Sleeper. On the Sleeper app, you can swing for the fences and win up to 100 times your money on payouts. All you have to do is choose 2 or more players that you like and then decide if they're going to overperform or underperform on their stat categories like home runs and strikeouts and hits and more. So, Johnny, it's Reed Detmers against Justin Verlander tonight. So do you think Detmers is going to get more than 6 strikeouts or less than 6 strikeouts?
He's got the ability to strike those guys out. I'm gonna go over 6. I like that.
Okay, and this isn't a stat, actually. It's just one that I've created, but maybe should be on the Sleeper app. Will he have 74 pitches in the 3rd inning or 74 pitches in the 5th inning?
Have 74 pitches in the 1st inning. How about that?
Oh, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
And you can get your picks right. And when you get your picks right, you can actually win big on the Sleeper app. And it works really fast too. Your entries can be made in 30 seconds or less. And there's a safe and fast withdrawal on all payouts. So download the Sleeper app today. And when you do, use our promo code Locked On at sign up and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. You should check out Sleeper today.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Hey, Locked On Everydayers, join us on Monday as we recap the entire series against the Astros. It's going to be a tough one, but we're hoping that the Angels could take 2 out of 3. That would be a win in our book, especially if they can take at least 2 games. Hey, don't forget that they're back at it against them tonight, 5:10 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Mike, it's a Fanmail Friday, and we got our first voicemail of the day, so let's go to that one right now.
Hello, my name is Jim Stanton. I live in Atoka, Tennessee. I've been an Angel fan since 1961 when they first came into existence when I lived in Southern California. And I'm got reservations for the Texas Rangers game this coming Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so we'll be going down to Arlington, Texas to watch them. I was hoping to know if you could tell me if Mike Trout or Zach Neto might be available for any of those games, because I'm looking forward to watching a really good series with them. I'm really glad that they won the last 2 games against the Giants. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll be listening to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Jim Stanton in Atoka, Tennessee, thank you for your voicemail. Great to hear from you, and thanks for giving us a call and listening to us. When he first said he had reservations for the Rangers game, I thought, yeah, I've got reservations about those games too. And then I realized, oh no, he's got plans.
He's got plans
to go to the games.
Yep.
Yes. And so, and no hesitation, just he's got plans. Yeah. Mike, he wants to know about Zach Neto and Mike Trout. What do you got for us?
Zach Neto went on the 10-day IL August 4th. The earliest he can come off is August 15th, which would be the second game, Jim, against the Rangers. It really kind of depends on the back inflammation, Johnny, because it went down and then it flared back up again, and it was deeper. They said deeper in the tissue, which is concerning. And so hopefully the rest would be beneficial to him, but he wouldn't be there for the first game, but he could possibly be there for the second game. And knowing Zach Neto, he's going to probably fight to be there for that second game.
Right. Absolutely. Hey, Mike Trout, regarding him, the last we had heard, just so you know, and this is, before this episode comes out, from Rhett Bollinger, who's the MLB.com writer for the Angels. He tweeted on August 3rd that Mike Trout is expected to progress to hitting off a tee as soon as today, which was August 3rd. Trout is expected, or he had previously taken dry swings on Monday and Tuesday. That's just swinging the bat and just seeing how it feels. Yeah. Nevin said the ramp up should be pretty quick once he starts hitting a ball. And then the LA Times beat writer for the Angels, Sarah Valenzuela, posted a video of Trout doing some outfield catching on August 6th. So he was out there catching the ball. There hasn't been any updates since then, but the word is that he's been waiting for the scar on his hand where they did the surgery to heal up until that feels better and that there isn't any pain there. I don't think he will be in the Rangers series unless we see him hitting a baseball soon, like off the tee or taking some batting practice. So that's going to be the indication that he's close. So Neto is a maybe, Jim. Mike Trout, I'm not sure he'll be back in time.
Yeah, I think Trout's also probably going to need some at bats, maybe in the minor leagues. Maybe they'll just skip it and have him come right up. But he's been out long enough to where I think he probably needs to get his timing back down. Same thing with Logan O'Hoppe. Like, he needs to get his timing back down, and so it might be wise for him to get maybe 1 or 2 games in the minor leagues. So I think you're right. I think he may not be available for that Rangers series.
Hey, let's go to another voicemail from a locked on everydayer. Here we go.
Hey guys, I haven't called in a while. This is Torrid from New York. Love you guys. Love the optimism. I know the Angels have made things hard on themselves with the Seattle sweep. Now, although it's important to take things game to game, do you think if they're successful in the Astros series, if that can give them a renewed sense of confidence onward? Okay, take care, guys. Bye.
Torrid, all the way in New York. Great to hear from you, my friend. And you got a great question there. Would a successful series against the Astros give the Angels a renewed confidence? Yes, absolutely. And
sure.
here's why, Mike. If they're successful, and we were saying again, 2 out of 3 this weekend, for sure their confidence is going to be boosted. And the reason why is because they've lost every series against the Astros this season. They've taken 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4. They haven't won a series against the Astros. And so I think it would definitely be a boon for them to take 2 out of 3 this weekend, because it's something they haven't done yet. And if you do that and do something you haven't done this season, I think that's an encouraging sign, right? Especially now that you're kind of fighting with them and theoretically for a spot. They've got Verlander tonight. They've got JP France on Saturday and Jose Urquidy on Sunday. And I'll say this, they've beaten Verlander as an Astro before.
Yeah.
They've beaten JP France this year.
Yep.
Jose Urquidy is just fresh off the injured list, and he's still finding his ground. So it won't be an issue of the Angels not being able to score against their pitchers. I think they just have to be in a position where the pitchers don't blow up and give up 4 runs in the first inning. That can't happen this weekend. So if it's a low scoring game on both sides, I think the Angels have a competitive chance in this Astros series.
Yeah, if the pitching staff that we saw against the Mariners and against the Giants is the pitching staff that shows up in this series against the Astros, then I like the Angels' chances. And obviously we got to fix some of the bullpen stuff, but it looks like that's starting to correct itself with Esteves' save in that last game against the Giants.
And Lopez should be back soon.
And Lopez is supposed to be back on Friday today, so hopefully he'll be ready to go. Quite honestly, this game is just about confidence, right? And I loved the tweet yesterday that I think it was an interview Jeff Fletcher did with Mike Moustakas about hitting with runners in scoring position. He said, you got to be confident, but you have to be confident that the pitcher's got the problem. You don't have the problem.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have to stop you. You're the one that's actually got the advantage. And I think if the Angels walk into this series with that perspective, I think that actually gives them more confidence. And really, I would say, like, we don't even take it as a series, John. We just take it 1-1. Like they got to go 1-0 every single day, right? Like,
seriously.
Just go 1-0 because they've really dug themselves a hole. And I think that the problem might be that they're looking too far ahead to try to get out of the hole. So just go 1-0 today. That's all that we're asking for.
Absolutely. Hey, let's go to Jake in Fullerton.
Hey, Halo Bros, it's Jake. I live about 20 minutes away from the Big A in Fullerton, California. I just recently got into baseball. I've always been an Angels fan, but I've just recently kind of gotten into baseball. I've been listening to your show. I've been watching all the Angels games. I'm a Lakers fan and a New Orleans Saints fan. And I've been blessed with those teams. The Lakers, they're the Lakers. They're always in the middle of success or on the verge of success. And the Saints, I've been graced with the presence of Drew Brees. And I was just wondering, how do you guys do it? I mean, week in and week out, I believe. 1 week, I believe we're going to the World Series. The next week, I'm thinking we're going to end up 10 games under 500 to end the season. And I just want to know, what do you guys do to just keep trucking? But thanks. Love the show. And thank you.
Jake from Fullerton, thanks for your voicemail, my friend. Mike, how do we do it? Halo Bros, how do you do it so well? How do you stay loyal?
Well, Jake, welcome to being an Angels fan. You are feeling all the feels, right? And that's really what it's been like since I've been a fan in the 80s. The 80s, the Angels were pretty good. I was young. 90s, I remember more of the games. They weren't really good. They had a couple of good seasons, but actually didn't make the playoffs. Early 2000s was the best run that they've had, I think, in the entire era of the organization. And then the 2010s to now has been really tough to be a fan. For me, honestly, Jake, I just can't turn it off. I don't know how to turn it off. I can't flip the switch. I've tried to, even in my teen years, I tried to flip over to, because WGN was on like every channel, right? And so I'll be a Cubs fan, or I find myself wondering how the Angels did. And how did Tim Salmon do? Because I love Tim Salmon. How did Chili Davis do? Because I love Chili Davis. And now how did Trout and Ohtani do? Like, I just can't turn it off, John. So how I keep trucking is it's just impossible for me to like get rid of the emotion and get rid of the passion. It's impossible for me to root for another team, even though there's options to root for other teams, Padres, Dodgers, right? But I just can't do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't turn it off either. I think the way I handle it, Mike, is I look for the positives. I know that good teams take time, good players take time, and you can't rush those things. And so as we look at who we have now, and there's reason to be excited about like Zach Neto and Logan O'Hoppe, and I know Reed Detmers and Sandoval haven't been as good, but I obviously they can take steps forward too. The other thing too is you can't live and die by every single game, because there's 162 of them.
Yeah.
And 80 heartbreaks and 80, run around the rooms aren't healthy for anybody. And so I just think that it's a long season, and you have to, you got to zoom out. And I know that we're saying that ironically, because I haven't paid as much attention to the Angels as I have since we started, not even just doing Locked On Angels, but our old podcast that we did just for fun. I can't believe we did that just for fun. And but what I'm saying is like, we zoom in on the games daily because we want to talk about them daily with you. Yeah. But as a fan, I think you have the luxury of zooming out and realizing like, you know what? Maybe I'll see how they're doing at the end of the month and then I'll come back, And so, yeah, it's really hard to be a fan when you live and die by each game. But just remember, it's a long season. If you look at games over the course of a week or a month and you think, hey, that was a pretty good week, or, oh, that was a terrible week, I think it kind of makes it easier on your fan heart to exist rather than living and dying on every single game.
All right, Johnny, we're jumping into our final segment of Fanmail Friday. This is from Zach on Twitter. Hey, what are your favorite Ohtani moments from his career as an Angel? Why don't you start us, John?
The first one that always comes to mind, and I love that it gets replayed all the time too, especially like in highlights, is the game against the White Sox 2 years ago at the beginning of the season. We were on Sunday Night Baseball when it was still Matty V and A-Rod, and Ohtani was on the mound, but it was also his first AB. And A-Rod goes, first pitch swinging. And then you hear, kaboosh, and this just the loudest swing of the bat and crushing the ball. And Matty V goes, oh, and first pitch crushing. And then just hits that rocket to right field.
Yeah.
That like set the tone for me of like, ooh, this is going to be a good year for Ohtani. Like I just knew like, okay, he's finally pitching again. He's hitting again after 2020, where he only pitched like an inning and a third and then didn't swing the bat very well in 2020. Like Ohtani's back, and this is who he's going to be. And I think that moment set the tone for me. And then my other favorite moment, I think too, comes from 2021, where there was a walk-off and he slides in and then just stays. He slid into home plate and then he just lays there with his arms up in the air as Darren Sutton goes, the Angels win, the Angels win. And that was exciting too. And of course that was his MVP season. Plenty of exciting moments from this year as well. I think I'm most impressed with just the way he's hitting home runs this season, dude. He's crushing them. Remember in Texas, he was hitting them to left center, like the opposite way. And they were going further than any other hits I've ever seen, man. It was insane. Yeah. So those are just some of my favorite moments. Obviously, he's got some really great games, like the 9 RBIs against the Royals or 8 RBIs or whatever. But for me, those two are my personal favorites. How about you?
Johnny, I was there when he hit his first major league home run.
Oh, yeah. And you were there with our friend James, who
Yep.
doesn't even care about baseball.
Sitting behind home plate and actually made it on TV because I think you took a picture of me and then somebody else took a picture of me. But and what was great about that game was that the Angels had really struggled against Cleveland. Like they had lost like maybe 8 in a row when they were playing Cleveland. They were the Indians at the time. Now they're the Guardians. And they had lost like 8 in a row to them. And Ohtani hits a mammoth home run. And we had just sat down and hits a mammoth home run. And it was like, whoa, this is great. And they ended up winning 13-3 in that game. Johnny, it was that season. They actually started 13-3 as well. And then they fell apart. So Jake, see, it's been like that for a long time.
Hey, Mike,
Steve, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Steve on Instagram, he says, hey guys, curious on your thoughts on Wayne Randazzo, if he could potentially stick around. We've been through a handful of play-by-play guys since Victor Rojas left. There's been rumors that Matty V is the long-term guy, or that maybe Victor Rojas might come back. But I really like Randazzo. He's got a great voice and rhythm with Gooby. I love when he calls out the MLB and the umpires or the replay crew. What has been your impression, and do you think he'll be back? What do you say, Mike?
I think he'll totally be back. I think that he has done an incredible job at calling this game. And what I've liked about it, and you mentioned it, what I liked about it is that he hasn't shied away from the hard conversations. And in a world where a play-by-play announcer can give stats and facts and the organization can suspend him, just looking at you, Baltimore, I think that I love how Wayne has really approached it, because when the Angels in the last week have really struggled, 2 blown saves, right? He's like, and here we are again, but it's not negative. It's not putting him down. He's just speaking the reality. He's like, the Angels are struggling to find outs again. And I think that those are the things that fans really appreciate, because you can't just pretend, oh man, that's hard. But you know what?
Yeah.
They fought. That's what's hard about listening to some of the other people around there, because it feels like state-run media. So I love his honest analysis.
Yeah.
I think Mark Gubaza is really comfortable with Wayne in the booth. Not that he doesn't. He's really the Glubaza with everybody, because he works with Patty O'Neill and works with Matty V. And so those guys are great. But I really like Wayne, and I think that Wayne should come back. And I think that he has been a great gift to the broadcast booth on the TV side this year.
I agree. And I think the plan was to have Matty V, once his contract expired with MLB Network, which I think is the end of this year. And so they were kind of waiting that out. But I think they really hit with Wayne Randazzo. I think he's a great play-by-play guy. I think he does a fantastic job. I really like the cadence of his calls. I like the things that he says. He makes every moment feel really special. And I don't think it's too much or too little. I think he nails it. And he was really fortunate to be there for Pujols' 601st home runs at Dodger Stadium on Apple TV. And I think that his voice behind that is really special, and his voice behind the moments that Shohei's made this season are really special. So if as long as Wayne wants to be here, I think he has a job here, because you're right. He works so well with Gooby. I think it's just the right amount of, like you said, it's not demeaning. It's not putting anybody down. It's just addressing the reality of the situation. And that's something that I think Victor did pretty well.
He did
back in his time too. Yep. He would address the reality of the situation. But again, I just think that, if they're going to roll with Wayne Randazzo, I don't think you can go wrong, because he just has such a professional voice and attitude and demeanor in the booth, especially with Gooby up there doing their Seinfeld references.
Nothing will beat Light That Baby Up. So Victor Rojas, high five. But I do like Say Good Night to the Giants.
Yeah.
I just love how he closes it out. So good.
It's nice to have something again. I do miss Big Fly though. We haven't had Big Fly for a while, because we do miss that from Victor. So yeah.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Remember, the Angels play the Astros at 5:10, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you there. Comment below the video on YouTube if you're watching on the video side. Hey, Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Got a 3-game series against the Astros, and so we are actually going to recap that 3-game series on Monday. So come and hang out with us. We'll give you all the details. We'll talk all the specifics, talk all the stats. We'll celebrate or commiserate together on Locked On Angels. That's Monday.
I said tomorrow's show because I'm just so excited to get back and talk about it. No, Monday. we'll be back to recap the Astro series. Until Monday, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here on Monday.